right, well, welcome back to another video. Thanks for tuning in. We are sitting in the new car, the new rally build, the Outback XT wagon stick shift. It's messed up, but you know, we're gonna fix it. The main reason why I bought this car is I've always been very fond of these cars in general, just specifically the wagon version of this year. I think they're gorgeous. Family that owned it put it, like, bulletproofed the car for their son, and their son was in college. Real nice dude. He put it into a pull. So, but what they did do is they did a new motor with receipts of the JDM crate motor, which is awesome. And yeah, and then new clutch, and then a bunch of other maintenance records. So the maintenance records were like huge, especially the new motor. There's some front end damage we'll take a look at. And it's stick shift, it's black, it's the limited, so it's got heated leather seats. Main reason why I bought it. So I was the first person to show up to take a look at the car. They wanted $3,000. The brand new motor had a crack in the radiator, so you could only start it for, you know, at the time they didn't think they were allowed to start it, which you are able to for short periods of time. Just don't let it overheat. They weren't comfortable starting it though for me to show me the most redeeming, the most valuable part of this car that they had was this brand new motor. And they weren't able, or they didn't want to at the time, start it up for me. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, that's unfortunate, because that's like that's a big reason why I'm here. So I wasn't able to confirm that it like ran and drove, you know, pretty much. So I told him that. I called him the next day after looking at it. I'm just like, hey, like, you know, I'll give you $1,000 for it, but I can't give you too much more than that. There's a lot of liability that goes into this, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then they didn't get back to me. And then the next day they're like, well, you do $1,200 and we'll tow it to your house and we'll give you new tires. So I took it up. I took them on that. I mean, that was just too good of a deal to pass up. So yeah, this is the new project. I've been doing this kind of stuff where you buy like messed up cars and then you fix them and then you keep them, or you sell them and you make your money back. I've been doing that long before there was a camera involved, and I really enjoy doing it. I always have. So I just figured I'd put the camera in front on this project, on this Outback, and bring you guys along for the journey. Here it is, the front end damage. Step one was just to take everything apart and see what the damage entailed. So you can see here, we're gonna throw it up on the ramps, get the front end up a little more, just a little more room to work. So him and I are just taking the front bumper off, and then here you can see that bash bar is super caved in on that right side. I have no idea how the airbags didn't go off when this guy hit the pole, supposedly at 20 miles an hour, which is probably a total lie. He's probably going a little faster than that. But yeah, I have no idea how they didn't go off. So yeah, we're taking the bash bar off here, and it is completely messed up. I couldn't get the end bracket off. One of the bolts was hiding behind all this crushed metal, so I had to bang it out of the way to get access to that last bolt. So yeah, that's the frame. That's all crunched in. We're trying to kind of just straighten it out, pull it out any way we can. Again, I'm not a mechanic. I just do this stuff for fun outside of work because I really like cars. So we are by no means professionals, and we were a lot of the times just learning as we go, trying stuff, seeing if it works, and just giving it a shot. But we are by no means professionals, so we're just trying to figure it out as we go. I'm using a slide hammer here. The upper radiator support is actually welded on with these cars, so it wasn't as easy as just unbolting and bolting a new one in. So we ended up trying to just smooth out and pull out the one that was in the car that was original to the accident, and it actually worked out pretty good. And then here we're just using some of my recovery gear out of my truck, attaching it to the lower radiator support, and then we're kind of anchoring the back of the car to this tree and then putting it in neutral, and then using a come along to pull out that lower radiator support a little more, which actually worked out pretty good. And then here, when you have plastic bumpers like this, you can actually use a heat gun or boiling water like what I'm doing, and you can push out dents pretty easily because the plastic like wants to be in its original shape pretty much. So it's actually really easy to do. You just heat it up and you just kind of push it out. It's not perfect, but it gets it looking pretty good. And then here you can see how much more room we have from the block to the radiator support. It was almost touching before, and now there's plenty of room there for the fans to go back in. So it actually worked out pretty good. And then you can see here, I mean, that's the original bumper to the accident. You saw how like tacoed it was before, but with that boiling water, we were able to pull that dent out, and it doesn't look too bad. I was actually really happy with how that turned out. And we didn't put the lower radiator, or sorry, the lower headlight brackets back in, but my plan was just to get some more, get a parts car pretty much before we did that. So this is how the car is sitting right now. It's a lot better, you know, than it was. It's definitely still messed up, don't get me wrong. But essentially what this is me getting it as good as I can without a parts car. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to find a parts car for this. It's just gotta be a black XT. I don't wanna do any painting, so black hood, black bumper, black fenders is kind of what I'm trying to track down to get this thing like done, you know what I mean? So still trying to find a parts car, but I mean, as it sits now, it's way better than what it was. I will track down a parts car, fully fix the front end, you know, fix the gaps and all that, but I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, so we got the new radiator in. That turned out good. Did an oil change, and yeah. Okay, so if you start it, I have this check engine light, which I found with my reader, P0500 speed sensor. But then more importantly, that code, C0103 is for the front right wheel well. It's ABS speed sensor. So I think over here when the car's running too, I have an ABS light. So with that being said, the car maxes out at 4,000 RPM.
What was that? Is that your foot?
I have that ordered. We're gonna get that fixed. And then part two, once that's in, we're gonna like actually drive it, take it on some back roads and see how it does. So I am going to attempt to get this thing running good and looking good, and probably bring it to a hoopty cross event, which is pretty much a rally cross. But a big factor that's gonna go into that is like, I don't know how cool this thing's gonna be to drive. I don't know if I'm gonna really wanna deal with investing too much money into it and making it look really cool. I don't know if I'm gonna wanna do all that until I drive it and see how I like it and see how it feels. And then if not, I've been wanting a 944 Porsche for a while to do like a rally type build. Shout out to 944 Rally. That guy's awesome. I wanted a 944 I've wanted one now for a while, but they're just god awfully expensive. So if I'm able to get this thing running and flip it, or, you know, profit from it and then reinvest the profits into buying a decent 944, I will, and we'll see how that goes. Or if this thing is fun to drive and I can get it sounding and looking the way I want to, I might keep it for a while and do a couple rally events in it, you know? So we'll see what happens. But as it sits now, it needs some work. Definitely needs some work. So yeah. And thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it.